over 95,000 signatures in 90 days. Once we get those signatures, this issue will be on the ballot, and the voters, you guys, will decide whether this is good policy or not. So that's what we're working towards. We got, as he indicated, we got 37,000 signatures on the veto referendum in 17 days. Actually, it wasn't 3 weeks. It was 17 days. And it was just an amazing experience where Republicans, Democrats, independents, every political stripe, it just didn't matter. All across the state just organized and just believed in one cause. So we're very excited about it. We have a great team. Jennifer, she's amazing. Moms Demand Action, amazing. So we're very excited about getting enough signatures because we believe there's a disconnect with the legislature and the people in the state of Oklahoma. And we have to send them a message that, hey, this is not right. We don't want guns in malls. We don't want guns in restaurants. We don't want individuals just walking around with an AR-15 without any training or a permit. That's all we're asking.
Can you, without going into a lot of detail, but can you give people an explanation of why you need so many fewer signatures on your petition as opposed to, say, Medicaid expansion, which needed 178,000, and obviously there are different approaches to this?
Yes, absolutely. I believe Medicaid expansion needed 178,000, and they ended up with over 200,000. And that's a constitutional amendment, so it's a constitutional change. What we're doing is a statutory change. So if we were to get enough signatures and also get it on the ballot, and the people in the state of Oklahoma support us and repeal this law, the legislature, the next legislative session, can go back and enact a new law. But people say that's risky because the legislature will do the wrong thing and enact another permitless carry law. But I really truly believe if we send a message to the legislature that this is a dangerous law and we get enough signatures, we get the vote that we need as far as getting it repealed, I think it will be politically a bad deal for them. I don't think they have the political courage to go against basically the will of the people. Because at that point, the people decided that this law is no good for the state.
Well, they have been a little slow, though, on criminal justice reform. So, it is amazing how these sorts of things can get dragged out. So are you concerned that that might be something to consider?
Yeah, definitely something to consider. But my priority at this time is, 1, to get enough signatures, 2, to get it on the ballot for the people to decide. And then if they want to bring it up in the next session, let's see. Let's see if they have the guts to do it, because they're going to have some angry people that are going to be really upset that they enact permitless carry again.
So, Jennifer, can you kind of introduce yourself to folks here and kind of how this topic came near and dear to your heart and you decided to get involved as you have?
Sure. My name is Jennifer Birch. I'm the Oklahoma City lead for Moms Demand Action, and I actually was one of 2 people that started the chapter here 7 years ago. My daughter was in 1st grade at the time of the Sandy Hook school shooting, and it just really woke me up and made me realize that I needed to do something. So a friend of mine and I started the chapter here. We started with 2 people. Jean was one of our first members, came to our what we called a stroller jam, where we had our kids in our strollers and boycotted the congressional offices. So we've come a long way from there, and we have over 6,000 members now and over 6 million in the country supporters.
Which leads me to the question too, Jason, how did this move to the top of your radar screen legislatively?
Oh, wow. I remember last year where I was watching TV and I saw the El Paso shooting, and I was like, nothing's being done. This is insane. And one thing that really came across my mind was not to have a mass shooting in the state of Oklahoma. So what I reached out to a friend of mine, Joshua Harris Till, he's president of the Young Democrats of America, and we talked about, hey, what we could do to possibly repeal permitless carry. Because I actually debated against that bill on the House floor when it was voted in the House. But so we just decided, hey, we got to do something. And then he was like, hey, you know what? You need to partner up with Moms Demand Action. You need to call Jennifer. So we got together, and Jennifer was like, okay, yeah, we're going to do it. And I think Andrew was there too, right, Andrew? Yeah, Andrew was back there. And so we all decided, let's go ahead and try it. I think we, at that point, we were like, wow, this is going to be a big challenge. Some people thought we were crazy. I remember the leader of the Republicans, Eccles, he indicated, hey, this is just a political stunt. They're not going to get enough signatures. They're not even going to get not even close to the amount of signatures they need. And we got 37,000, and it was just an amazing experience. It was just really, really cool. Yeah.
So Jennifer, did you ever think you would be, have you ever been engaged in a political movement before? Did you ever think you would do something like this?
Definitely not.
So what's the impact on you and your family?
It is a challenge.
Can you all hear her?
Okay, it is a challenge. I'm an introvert, and I thought I would never lead an organization, but again, I felt like somebody needed to do it, and so I stepped up to do that. And Representative Lowe and Josh came to us and said, we want to do this. We did. I remember specifically saying, you're crazy, but we're on board. We'll do this with you. And we got pushback from everyone, including our organization. And we said, look, we're going to do this with or without our red shirts on. And they, eventually let us do it with our red shirts on. And they said the same thing, that you may get 3,000 or 4,000 signatures, and you really shouldn't do this. And we took a chance, and we did it. And really, we only had 15 days to actually collect signatures, because the first 2 days we couldn't. And we got over 38,000, but 37,000 were counted. So it really was, it was beyond Moms Demand Action. It really took on a life of its own. There were people who didn't even know anything about Moms Demand Action that were out at concerts and other events collecting hundreds of signatures and turning them in. People were running in at 5 o'clock on the day it was due at the Secretary of State's office, getting them notarized and turning them in. It was really inspiring for us and for, I think, everyone who watched it.
So did it surprise? I take it did then surprise you the level of interest. Oklahoma has a reputation as a very red state. Moms Demand Action T-shirts notwithstanding.
Redneck state.
This is a place where NRA politics have ruled for a long time. And yet there's this blip here that sort of suggests, there must be a lot of people out there who either think that things have gone too far, or there are more people who don't think that way than we originally knew.
Definitely. We've always pushed the message that this is a nonpartisan issue. There was some polling done that showed that 81% of people here wanted to keep our permitting system in place. Okay. 81% of people wanted to keep our permitting system in place. It wasn't a large poll, but the majority of people were conservative voters. So if you trust the polling, and some other polling has been done, it shows that it's a nonpartisan issue and that the majority of people want common sense gun laws. And I do think with permitless carry, it just went too far for your average gun owner who thinks that training is important and thinks that permits are important, and they're willing to go through the background check and the training to get a permit, and they think other people should too. So I think it's a combination of that it is a nonpartisan issue. We saw that consistently where Republicans were signing the petition and asking if other Republicans were signing the petition, and had a lot of great stories come out of that collection drive. So, yeah, I think that it's just, we have to trust the polling. We have to put it to a vote to the people to see, and just stop letting politicians make it a partisan issue when it's not.
You know, one thing, early here in the legislative session, we've already seen that the Senate passed the bill that would allow teachers to carry guns in the classroom without having to go through, 240 hours of training, I think. And the argument that's made, I mean, we're here in the city, we're in the biggest city in the state, is that it's particularly important in rural Oklahoma, and that's where the lawmakers say they're getting the push to do this, because there may be slower response times on, from law enforcement and that sort of thing if you have an active shooter situation. So here you are, you're talking, you filed a new petition, you guys are trying to rein in permitless carry, but at the same time, the legislature appears to be on the verge of expanding guns now into the classrooms on a more regular basis. Jason, how do you deal with that?
It's tough. It's tough. I think with the NRA, OK2A, spreading a lot of misinformation out there that we're against individuals purchasing guns. What we're focused on at this point in time is a permit and training. That's it. And the thing about that is, in 2019, that was the law, but the message that they're sending it to a lot of people is that we're trying to take away guns, we're trying to not allow you to purchase and not protect yourself. That's not the point. We're just asking for training and a permit, and that's it, to conceal and open carry. But it's very difficult in the legislature because basically the Republican Party can do whatever they want. They don't have to talk to Democrats. They have the supermajority, so they can get any bill through the House and the Senate, and it's more than likely to be signed by the government.
So do you get any sense at all that there is at least some modicum of Republican colleagues who are a little unsettled that maybe the line did move too far?
Yes, absolutely. We had a bill in committee, in Judiciary Committee, which I'm a member of, that died 2 days ago. It died 9-4. So there was 5 Republicans that voted against that bill, and we were like shocked. We were shocked and we were happy because I think the messaging that we're sending out there, as far as this is too much, this is insane. And we have to make sure and protect the public. So I think some Republicans are starting to get it. I know, when I'm on the House floor, they come up to me and say, "Hey, I can't support you publicly yet, but I do support you."
So what would it take for them to support you?
I think getting this initiative petition on the ballot and the people in the state of Oklahoma voting for it. I think that's going to change the mindset that this is not a toxic issue, this is not a Republican issue, this is not a Democratic issue. This is, as I said, a safety issue. So I think we have to get that in there. Because if we don't get enough signatures, and we're going to need everyone's support here, if we don't, it's going to be very tough for us to do anything like this ever again. So we need everyone's support. We need everyone gathering signatures and getting us to the finish line. Because this is like a make or break situation at this point in time.
So how do you guys think we got to this point where you could end up with anybody, regardless of training, being able to carry a gun in Oklahoma? You hear a lot of arguments. My goodness, you have the Second Amendment, but we require people who are driving a 4,000-pound killing machine, known as an automobile. We require training of them. We require them to carry liability insurance at the very least. Why have we been so slow as Oklahomans, do you think, to come to grips with that in a similar way where weapons are concerned?
Well, I think that's a national problem. I think the NRA has had control for a long time, and influence for decades, and OK2A has a powerful voice in Oklahoma. And until Moms Demand Action came along, it's opened up the conversation to where people were more willing to talk about it. And then until Representative Lowe came and said, and had the courage to say, we need to do something about this, that's really when we saw how people really felt about this issue. So I think it's going to take time. It took time to get to this extreme point, and it'll take time to come back to the middle. And like Representative Lowe said, this is a really important time to show that the majority of Oklahomans don't want these extreme laws going through. There's an obvious disconnect between the people and the legislature on this issue. And that's what we need to show. We may need to flip some seats on this issue for them to realize that that it is important to voters. We need voters to come out strong on this issue and vote for a gun sense candidate. And like what you saw with Representative Kendra Horn, she was a gun sense candidate, and people thought that would hurt her. And I remember we had a meeting, and we said, "Can we wear red shirts to your debate against Representative Russell and Congressman Russell?" And she, her campaign manager was in the back of the room, like shaking his head no, and she said, "Absolutely, I'm proud to be a gun sense candidate." She debated him on the issue. We showed up in our red shirts, so they added a question at the end about guns, and she knew what to say because she had been to our meetings, and she won. And we were one of the few groups of people who were at her party because we knew she could win. So it's hard for people to realize that this is a winning issue, especially in a state like Oklahoma, but it is, and it will continue to go in that direction.
How much of this is an urban-rural divide, do you guys think? Or is it, do we make more of that than we should?
No, I think there is a bit of a divide there. Like you said, with the teacher training, we don't support guns in schools at all, even in rural areas. And when you decrease the training, that makes it even worse. But I will say I have heard of polling that showed that whether it was rural or suburban or urban, the majority of people had a negative view of permitless carry. It may have been like 60% in rural to 70 to 80% in urban and suburban, so it may be a little bit less, but it's still showing that the majority of people everywhere want some restrictions on guns. So, but maybe a little bit less than in your urban areas.
So Jason, are you going to, acknowledging how difficult it would be to get something through the legislature as it's currently constituted, are you trying to get a hearing on your permitless carry repeal? Are you trying to get a hearing on, Jason also has a bill that would outlaw long rifles in restaurants. Are you trying to get?
Yes, absolutely. I'm working those bills, and I guess I could announce today, I found out today, that we're going to have a committee hearing on my repeal bill next week. Guys, welcome to 10 at 10:30. It's going to be in the Public Safety Committee. So we're going to have a hearing on it. More than likely, it's not going to pass, but it's going to be a great opportunity to express my viewpoint on it and to let the public know that this law is absolutely dangerous.
Are you surprised that it actually is going to get a hearing? I mean, a lot of bills.
What I had to do was I transferred it was originally in judiciary, so I transferred it from judiciary to public safety, and the chairman agreed to have a hearing on it.
So 10:30 next
Thursday.
See, we break news here at these occasions. You get brought up to speed on what all's going on here. What about, Jason Dunnington and Melissa probably have a bill too on red flag laws here in Oklahoma. And that seems to me to be something that might even be easier in a sense, politically, I don't know, than, not really? Okay, all right.
No, not really. What I'm hearing from Republicans and leadership is their intent to kill all gun bills that are anti-gun bills.
Is it made worse because it's an election year?
Absolutely, yeah. Individuals don't want opponents. They want to make sure that the NRA is a big supporter because when the NRA sends a mailer and indicating that you're anti-gun, that's tough, especially in rural Oklahoma. So politicians want to keep their jobs, and it's unfortunate sometimes because they can't do the right thing or they don't want to do the right thing. But they're fearful of the NRA. They're fearful of OK2A based on the fact that they're a loud minority, and they get on your Facebook page. They come to the Capitol. They're very loud, and a lot of Republicans are just not, just don't have the courage to stand up and just do the right thing.
So do you think your permitless carry repeal actually is getting a hearing in part though because of the petition drive?
I think they want to kill it. To be honest with you, they want to make sure that they send a message as well that they're going to kill my bill. But I'm grateful for the opportunity to argue my points.
We're about halfway past the hour, and I'd like to open it up to the floor for questions. So I'm going to do my best, Oprah Winfrey invitation, and kind of run through the crowd. So if you've got a question, Tom, you got your hand up first here.
Okay.
I'll just pull for everybody else.
A couple things. First of all, army teachers. Couldn't you see 35,000 armed teachers marching on the state capitol? Yeah, but the second thing is, I ran across this in various articles, but there's some are taking a kind of a strict constructionist approach to gun control, that the only guns protected by the Second Amendment would be those that were available when the Bill of Rights passed, like in 1796. Any gun that's invented after that would not be covered by the Second Amendment.
I wonder how many muskets there are in Oklahoma.
I guess the internet's not covered by the First Amendment now.
One thing that I've seen is a lot of our opponents, they cite the Constitution or they cite that they have a right to bear arms and so forth. But the Supreme Court came down with a ruling, the Heller decision, that was, and the opinion was written by the most conservative justice in my lifetime, probably everyone here's lifetime, Justice Scalia. And he indicated that guns can be regulated. And, and that's all we're asking. That's all we're asking for, some type of regulation.
Jennifer, I know that you mentioned that this, what was it, Sandy Hook that got you started? Yeah. There's got to be some concern about the potential, I would think, that a teacher could be overpowered by a student, and that you might actually be creating a situation that's worse.
Absolutely, that is a concern. Or there's guns left in the bathroom. There's all kinds of problems that occur when you bring guns into a situation. And so, again, we don't want guns in schools at all. We know that some rural areas have already approved that. And when you also take the training, complete training, which they may have had some training on protecting their weapon, to just the 8-hour concealed carry training, which we were told was worthless. That's why they got rid of it. If it's worthless training, why is that okay enough for a teacher to be able to carry a gun in a school around children? They also were not clear on their debate about what the liability. It removes all liability if that does happen. The school and the staff, they have no liability if an accident does happen at school with that bill. So it's going to conference committee. It may or may not come out of there, but it's a terrible law. If it gets passed.
You talk about teachers, or marching on the Capitol with their guns, and of course there is legislation proposed this year that would allow legislators to carry guns, right?
Yes, there is.
Yeah, capital carry with permit.
Any state building, the Capitol and any state building.
Well,
I'll pass.
yeah, I figured you might, okay.
Question, what is the perceived problem that Republicans are trying to fix with permitless carry?
I think some of their arguments are that poor people cannot afford a permit and they should still be able to carry weapons to protect themselves. But we as citizens also have the right to be protected in knowing that they were trained and had licenses. There's also the argument that well, of course, they always bring up the Constitution.
Takes too long to get training if I need it immediately.
Oh, right, like in a domestic violence situation, if you needed it right away. But I think their goal was really just to get constitutional carry is what they call it. And really the goal is to have guns everywhere, everyone, anywhere with no training. And that's really the direction they're going. They're going to continue to go in that direction unless we pull back.
Why do they think that's a good idea?
So more guns.
Why do the Republicans think
Why do
it's a good idea?
Republicans think that's a good idea?
I think they're just pandering to the LGBTQA and NRA, honestly. I don't think most of them do think it's a good idea. If you heard the debate on the floor, there were Republicans debating against permitless carry and then voted for permitless carry. I mean, literally, you can go back and watch it. So they were against it, but because they knew it was going to pass, they voted for it. Or you had people walk the vote and just not vote at all, so it wouldn't affect their grade, that they received from the gun lobby.
How visible has law enforcement been in this? The reason I ask is that when open carry was first introduced or first enacted some years ago, I asked some police officer friends of mine, and they didn't like it. And I said, why? And they said, the last thing I need, if I got a situation where guns are drawn, the last thing I need is somebody coming to help, right? and because those people are not trained in those situations. So my question is, has law enforcement been visible? Have they been vocal on this to try to inject their experience into this equation?
So Chief City was very vocal against it. Not this last time around. He waited until after it passed to make a statement, but the year before he was very vocal. There was a coalition, including law enforcement, that was very strong in getting Mary Fallon to veto the bill, the law. So they are on our side, but not publicly enough, which we find over and over again. I mean, it's going to take some real courage from leadership across the state to step up and talk about this issue and let people know that we do need stronger laws. One thing that the permitless carry bill did is it changed the responsibility from citizens to let law enforcement know they have a weapon to law enforcement now has to ask if someone has a weapon. So that's another part we would like to repeal, because now law enforcement is going into every situation afraid that, or just basically assuming that everyone has a weapon, which makes them more afraid. And when police are more afraid, we know how that ends, especially for Black and brown people. It doesn't end well.
I'm also a criminal defense lawyer, and when I'm in court, one of the things that DAs complain about, guns. So I'm quite frankly shocked that they have not gotten more involved, that law enforcement have not gotten more involved on this issue, because they complain all the time about this. And I know that there was an issue with Timothy Harper, that the individual that walked in to a restaurant with AR-15 and was arrested by, eventually arrested and charged by District Attorney David Prater. But other than that, there's nothing that's really been done as far as law enforcement. I think. Maybe Jennifer has a different opinion on that, but I'm very shocked and embarrassed that they have not been more active.
I'd like to ask Representative Lowe, I was privileged last time to be one of your volunteers. When we do it this time, where do we go? Where do we get the permit? Where do you want us to help get the signatures we need?
This is your opportunity
Yeah,
to
that's
tell them
right.
where to send the check. and-
Yeah. I'm going to let Jennifer talk more in depth about it, but first of all, we have to wait until the Secretary of State gives us the go-ahead to go ahead and start collecting signatures, and that time frame is, I think, March 7th through the 22nd. We just don't know the date yet. We also don't know at this point in time if there are going to be any challenges to our petition. They have 10 days in order to challenge our petition, so we have to wait on that as well. But once that process is over, we strongly believe that we're going to get the go-ahead eventually. But we just don't know when. We're going to do that part.
So we formed an organization called Oklahomans for Safe Communities to lead this campaign, and you can find on the website www.ok4safecommunities.com. You can sign up to collect signatures. We will have a training that can be done so that the signatures are collected properly. We have a sign-up sheet over here for Oklahomans for Safe Communities.
It's been going around.
Okay, it's been going around. So if you sign up there, you'll be added to our email list. You can get the training and collect signatures. We also have some donation envelopes. People think that we are funded by Bloomberg, and we are not funded by Bloomberg. We are not funded by anyone.
Steve Soros? No.
Yeah, I mean, literally, if you guys only knew, this is all voluntary.
I'm a Bloomberg plant. I have a great relationship with me. I remember the first time last week, a couple of weeks ago. Unbelievable.
Yeah. So, anyways, we do need funding. If for some reason our volunteers are not on pace to collect enough signatures, we will have some paid signature gatherers if we have the funding. But we're hoping to be able to do it with an all-volunteer effort and with minimal amount of money. But these other petitions have millions of dollars, and we just don't. We're a volunteer structure, and people are devoting, every waking hour to this. They will be again for 90 days. So.
I wanted to just ask something back on the law enforcement support. I think I heard this week that the Logan County Sheriff has declared Logan County a gun sanctuary.
Sure.
And I just wondered, is that a good opportunity to go to those law enforcement people and say, stand up now, or this is your image?
Yeah, I made a statement, public statement about it today, actually. It's tough when, individuals who are sheriffs or DAs get involved in politics. They have to follow the Constitution, they have to follow the law, and it's just unfortunate that sheriff, and I think 2 other counties joined in with him. I think it was Stevens County and some other county joined in with him as well. So it's just unfortunate, but I think the only way, and this is my gut feeling on this, to stop this madness is for us to get enough signatures and get this on the ballot and get this passed. That's it. And I keep saying, I don't want to keep harping on this, that we really need you guys to get out there and support this movement, because this is just our last opportunity to really get some really major changes done in the next year.
When these petitions start flipping legislators, do you think the leadership is going to get more upset by the increase in Democrats or the increase in pragmatic Republicans? I'm basically joking.
No, nobody wants to touch that? Okay, wow, okay, we've stumped the, okay.
You might wind up with Jason as the speaker.
Well, first, I just wanted to say that in that committee meeting that Representative Lowe referred to a couple of days ago, the way that vote turned out, since then, the Republicans that voted against what was the Second Amendment Preservation Act, people have come out of the woodwork from some of these organizations referred to, making similar accusations. Now suddenly these Republicans are Bloomberg plants and they're being paid off and all these sort of things. So I think it just kind of shows the zealous nature of some of these people out there. But my question has to do with the training issue. If your bill, the repeal bill, were to go through and be passed, or the petition is successful, the goal is to roll things back to pre-November 1st conditions. Well, with that being said, the current licensing scheme for the SDA, it is not training. It's an overview of the law, and you pull the trigger 50 times, and as long as you don't hit yourself or somebody else, they sign off on it. You don't even have to hit the target. So with still having things like reciprocity with all other states, including the various constitutional carry states, where those people would have had no training whatsoever, or military carry, we're looking at all these people that will have no familiarity with Oklahoma laws. So how would you address that?
I think that's an excellent question, and it's something I meant to bring up earlier, that the argument that the training is not good and there's reciprocity with other states, the way that you fix that is you improve the training, right? And you change the reciprocity law to where people do have to follow our law, do have to have a permit to carry, even if they're coming from other states. So I don't think the solution is to go away from all laws. I mean, laws have been proven in our society to work and to reduce crime, reduce drunk driving, whatever. Laws do work. We need to find the right laws, and we're just clearly going in the wrong direction. And we need to go towards better training, more training, fix that reciprocity law. You know, the legislature voted for that, so they can vote to change it. So we would prefer all these things were fixed in the legislature and we didn't have to spend hundreds of hours trying to collect signatures and get these things on the ballot. But if the legislators are not representing the will of the people, that's really our only choice.
And I have no problem with reducing the cost of training. I know that's been a major issue too. Hey, I have no problem with doing that.
So, Jason, how does permitless carry help us become a top 10 state? That was a serious question, actually.
Yeah. I talk to people from New York, other states around the country, and they're like, really? Guns in schools? Really? Like, what's going on here? An individual can walk around town and do what's called these audits that OK2A promotes, and walk in the neighborhood with an AR-15. Timothy Harper, I'll bring him back up again. He actually walked into my district with an AR-15, approached the church, just individuals on the street, and intimidated them. It's just, it's scary. it's insane. And when you call the police and they're like, well, we can't do anything. Just imagine that. Someone's walking down the street with an AR-15, and you call the police, and they're like, well, that's the law. So it's unfortunate, and it's definitely something that is, I've gotten a personal take in. I definitely when that individual walked into my district with that firearm and going to the churches in my community. I want to say again, I just need everyone's support. This is so personal to me, and we just need to get this done.
My question kind of ties into Arnold's. How have the Republicans reacted to or thought about the impact of gun control in terms of out-of-state recruiting for industrial development?
I don't think that anyone thinks it's good for bringing people into our state. Things like permitless carry. But again, it's going to take the courage of some Republicans, some other state leaders. I mean, I've sat with Mayor Holt, and he said, "There's nothing I can do about the legislature and the governor." And I said, "But you're a leader in the community, and you have to start talking about common sense. You have to start talking about this to where it's normal for us to talk about. It's okay to talk about, and we're not in this constant battle." So I don't think in their hearts they think it's good for our state, but they are still, like Representative Lowe said, more concerned with their electability in the future, and they still think that being pro-gun is going to help get them elected. And until we as people say, no, that's not going to help you get elected, we want you to have common sense, then it's not going to change. So we have to, let them know where we're coming from. So many people are quiet on this issue. They agree with us, but they're not at the Capitol. They're not calling their legislators. They're not doing anything. So we have to talk about it with our friends and our neighbors and encourage people to get involved in this and hope that some people have some courage, in leadership.
So why are they so silent?
The
Why
people?
are folks not willing to stick their necks out on this?
Well, I can speak from experience. When we started our organization, I was afraid to wear my red shirt in public. I changed my name on Facebook. That's why you don't know my name, because I changed it, on social media. I mean, it's very scary. It's scary when people threaten you. They threatened Representative Lowe. So it's not an issue people are comfortable talking about. When we did the petition, I saw it again that people would tell me, well, I only have maybe 10 or 15 people that would sign this petition. And they're thinking in their heads, their most progressive family members and friends. And I said, take this petition and ask anyone in your daily life, someone coming out of the store, wherever you're going, take the petition and ask them to sign it. And the people that did that, 80 to 90% of people signed the petition, and they said, whoa, people agree with me. I'm not alone on this issue. It empowered them. My husband was at the zoo, and after an hour, he called me and said, I'm getting so many signatures, I'm going to stay another hour. And I was like, go for it. It was exciting for people that most people agreed with them on this issue when they thought they were alone on it. So that's, again, why we spent 7 years just trying to open up the conversation and be at the Capitol, give encouragement to the representatives and the legislators who are voting the right way. They tell us all the time they're so happy to have us up there because it counters the pressure and intimidation they get from OK2A.
Just a follow-up question. Why hasn't anybody asked the question, why is it positive in the effort to recruit out-of-state industry into Oklahoma that we have no gun control? How does that help our economic development?
It doesn't help. I know for a fact that the chamber, Oklahoma City Chamber, is adamantly against this, but they haven't really come out publicly, and that's something that's unfortunate. I don't know if they're concerned that they're going to get the wrath of the governor. I don't know if that's what their concern is. They're not going to be able to pass other pieces of legislation that they deem important. But I don't think that individuals are just for example, a teacher from another state is not going to want to come to Oklahoma knowing that there's going to be guns in the classroom. A restaurant chain from another state is not going to want to come to Oklahoma knowing that possibly someone could walk in with an AR-15, which has happened. There was an incident where he walked in with an AR-15, and also an incident in rural Oklahoma where a young child found a firearm in a restaurant. That's unacceptable, and that's becoming the standard in the state. And I'm just so excited that Moms Demand Action had the courage to join with us to fight against this, because this is insanity. And other states, people in other states are laughing at us. They're ridiculing us. They're like, what in the world is going on in the state of Oklahoma?
Imagine that.
So my question is,
I'm
I
getting
mean,
to
I'm
Felton
totally
tomorrow.
supportive of any gun control. I think it's all crazy.
Oh, yeah.
at this point.
Had friends from
But
hired on
I go
visit
to
in
the
country,
Broadway
and he said he
musicals
couldn't
at the
believe New
Civic
York
Center.
and Oklahoma. were
How
the
can a
same.
private or a place of, like that's a public theater, how can they deny somebody the right to carry a firearm into that when it is the state law? I mean, I wish nobody had guns, to be honest, but I am always confused, like how can a private establishment say you can't have a gun if that is the state law?
Because the Chambers of Commerce did work with the legislators last session to make sure that private property owners' rights were protected. So there was, although the chambers have been against permitless carry, they made some deals last year and did not fight back on it. But one of the deals they made was to preserve that right for businesses to be able to say no. Now, if people bring them in, then somebody, there has to tell them what their policy is, and they have to refuse to leave before the police can even be called, and then the punishment is minimal. So it's not a lot of protection, but they can put a sign up and not allow guns on their property for private businesses.
But remember, there was a dressed up in some fear when Scissortail Park opened, that somehow, that managed to slip through, and they were sort of stuck to say, well, we can't stop people from coming to the opening of Scissortail Park with their weapons.
Well, that law was in place before the opening, where guns, people could conceal carry in parks, and then actually they could conceal. Is it conceal or open? You might know that.
Now the law says that if it's presently the law is that if it's a park or establishment that's owned or operated by a public trust or a nonprofit entity, it's concealed carry only.
So, like Gathering Place, Scissortail Park, the zoo, people can conceal carry with no training. That's still a problem. But they cannot open carry. So I think in general they're happy with that. At least people aren't open carrying in the park. But Mayor Holt was not happy at all that he had metal detectors and people could still come in with guns. And he would like to see the power go back to the cities and municipalities where they can not allow guns in parks at all. He has expressed that publicly.
So Jason, I know you're in your second term, but I can remember for the longest time that businesses and the chambers and so forth were adamantly opposed to this thing. And did something happen that they just finally gave in to? They had been pressed for so long on this thing, they decided not to fight it anymore. I mean, I keep thinking right before Christmas, when Penn Square Mall gets emptied out across the street here, and a lot of them ended up, Mr. Tolbert told me, the TV stations and everybody were, over here, and people were fleeing the mall and coming over here. And my gosh, they lost millions of dollars in business probably on that thing. Why aren't people like that now engaged in trying to get this thing repealed?
So I just want to say that we've been fighting permitless carry for years in the legislature. And then last year it passed because Governor Stitt ran on that issue and he said, I will sign permitless carry into law. And it was the first law, or the first bill he signed into law. So at that point, when Governor Stitt was elected, they knew the Chambers of Commerce knew that it was going to pass, and it was just a matter of how bad the bill was going to be. So they were able to get Mary Fallin to veto it. That's a big deal. I mean, Mary Fallin vetoing a gun bill is a big deal. But they had enough, power with all the entire coalition to get her to do that. But when Governor Stitt was elected, they knew it was going through. It was a matter of how bad it was going to be, so they made some deals. And here we are. They still cannot really fight it at this point, and they can't even. I don't think they really even can support our efforts. They privately support our efforts, but I don't think they will publicly be able to, because they're really trying to keep the gun lobby from chipping away at our current laws. The next thing is campus carry, which we'll be fighting this year, and that was another thing that they said. We'll stop fighting permitless carry as long as private businesses are protected and we don't do campus carry. So I don't think campus carry will go anywhere this year, but you never know. People can go back on their word, and we'll be fighting it every step of the way.
I don't know that anybody's studied it to know how many more gun deaths, if any, we've had since permitless carry took effect on November 1st. But Jason, you reproduced something I saw on Facebook or something in the last few days. I think it was you who talked about the number of people who have died because of guns in Oklahoma. Was that? Am I attributing it to you?
Yeah.
Well, it was Oklahomans for safe communities, yeah. And
Okay.
he reposted it, but
What was the number? Was it like 63 have died since November the 1st?
65. I can look it up. It was maybe 65, and that did not even include over 100 estimated suicides in that time period by gun. So 65 and 80 more were injured. That's up from the 3-month period the year before, but it's really hard to attribute, causation to that at this point. It's going to take more time, but overall, in states that have passed permitless carry, they have seen a rise in gun deaths. If you look at the overall total for all the states that have passed permitless carry, each individual state varies, but overall, it has gone up in those states, which makes sense.
Well, and again, I want to be clear. I wasn't trying to draw that causation there because we just don't know until it's actually researched and studied. But it seems to me that if we had 65 highway deaths in that period of time, that people would have sat up in Oklahoma and said, "What's going on here?" That seems like a lot of. But we're talking about gun deaths.
I think it's important for people to know how many people really do die from gun violence in our state, because you don't hear about the everyday shootings. We only really pay attention to the mass shootings because it scares us. But every day, 100 people are being shot and killed in this country, and that many more injured. And a lot of those are suicides. But I think over the past maybe 5 years, over the past 5 years, I think we ranked 13th in the nation for number of gun deaths. Oklahoma does. So we're almost top 10. We might make it next year. I hate to say that, but people need to know that it is an issue in Oklahoma. It's not just in your big cities like Chicago